Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting perspective. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by Lee Sterling himself. Feel free to call us the two geniuses this week because we both predicted a 3-point Miami victory last week, and both were spot on correct. Lee, I hope it stays like this the whole football season. There's all kind of riches out there for us and the whole Canes nation to make if we can do it. Let's start there. Your thoughts on opening week for the Hurricanes?
Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was at least an 8.5, 9. It was better than expected against a really good team. And, you can nitpick, find a few little things like saying the safeties were average. Obviously, we all saw what was happening as far as the play calling, a little conservative. We're going to need some more weapons, some other receivers to come out and do well. But I think this team has, pretty much all the elements you need to be very successful. And they beat a really good Notre Dame team. And Carson Beck, as a former quarterback, one of the reasons I wanted to go, I wanted to see what he saw. Like, you can't tell exactly what Arch Manning saw because you don't have, that type of, angles as far as from what they're going to see as far as the colleges and as far as coverages and things like that. So I wanted to see in person what coverages he was seeing, what decisions he was making, whether receivers were open, whether he was making the right choice, who he was going to. And he was probably making the right choice well above 90% of the time. So I liked his progressions, thought he was reading the field well, thought he was very composed. And, maybe the only other thing that I would have liked to have seen, maybe a design run or two. I thought late in the game, once we were starting to run the ball and trying to run out the clock maybe a little too early, there was a couple times where if they would have done some read options, I think that it would have been wide open for him to run for at least 15 to 20 yards. But overall, very good, very happy as a fan and also someone who picked Miami. So let's move forward and hopefully things keep going well and we don't get many players injured.
Now, I was thinking about you a little bit during the second half of that game because, yes, Miami did go conservative on offense, kind of tried to shut it down after scoring at the beginning of the third quarter. Clearly a mistake in judgment. They end up in a tie game with 3 minutes left. I thought Miami was a far superior team on Sunday night to Notre Dame. I really did. I felt like they were a couple touchdowns better, and there was no reason for that game to end up as tight as it was. But I'm thinking, like, people like yourself, you're making picks, people are betting over-unders and things like that, and the game ends up almost on the line, right? Because of the way the second half played out. It probably should have been an easy over for those that bet the over. And instead, the under wins. And that's really the tough part about sports prognostication and sports betting, isn't it? You can't control situations like that.
No, but you can. You're putting out your hard-earned dollars on what you want to bet it on. So I actually had the under very big also. So in the first half, just in the first half. So the over under the first half was anywhere from 23.5 to 24.5. So like that a lot too. So I wanted to stay away from the game. So it was enjoyable. The first half, I had already put that one to bed and then just had to sweat it out a little in the end. But what's funny is I didn't feel like we were going to ever lose the game. So
no, I didn't either.
Yeah. So I don't know if we were 2 touchdowns better than them. We were 2 touchdowns better than them on the scoreboard. I did think that Notre Dame definitely had a couple calls go their way. Yeah, but I did like the fact that the officials came together a couple times and talked it out and ultimately made the right call. So overall, a fun night. If you're a Miami fan, you're feeling really good right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so this week you got Bethune Cookman, a game too ridiculous to even put a line on, apparently, because we couldn't find one on this game. If you had to be the line maker sitting out there in Vegas, I'm not sure who puts out the first lines anymore these days, but which sports book. But if you were that person that had to make the line for the Miami Bethune Cookman game, what would you make it right now?
Probably 53.5. They lost to FIU. they had beaten FIU 4 straight times before they had played last week. And I watched that game, and wow, are they bad. They have a little lefty kid named Timmy McLean, and there's a couple balls that he throws that are great, and then a couple balls guys are wide open, he can't hit them, and their defense just can't do much. The best player on their team, if you want to go and watch the game, is a receiver named Malik Huggins. Yeah. So he had 2 punt returns last year for touchdowns. He is possibly a next level player. Watch him, Malik Huggins. Didn't throw to him much in the game against FIU. Probably a mistake. He's tall, like probably 6'1", 6'2", really fast and has good vision and runs good routes. So he's about it as far as I could find. Their defense is absolutely horrendous. I mean, Miami can name the score. I won't be betting it, but if I had to put a line, I like I said, 53, 53.5. Miami should win this game 61-7. They cover by a point.
You think they get 7, huh? All right.
Maybe.
We'll see what happens. Or
maybe 6, maybe 2 field goals. I don't know.
I can't stand games like this.
Yeah,
I really can't. So before we talk about a couple other specific games this week, I wanted to ask you your general thoughts of the first week of college football. I mean, there was some wild stuff that went on. Florida State shocks us and beats pretty handily Alabama. LSU goes into Clemson and wins there. Ohio State prevails over Texas. Arch Manning looks horrendous. What were your thoughts on the first week of the season?
It's a learning process. It used to be a lot easier for me. I used to be able to know going in pretty much 75 to 80% of the teams what was going to happen. You have returning coaches, returning coordinators, returning quarterbacks, and then there's the rest of them. Not anymore with the transfer portal. I mean, there's probably 14, 15 teams that had 12 or more starters from the portal. I mean, how do you know what's going to happen? So Florida State looked much better, and now it looks like Miami's going to have a much tougher game than we expected. At least they dominated that game, both lines of scrimmage, so that could end up being a really tough game. Thought Texas was overrated. Typical Steve Sarkisian play calling, terrible. Arch Manning, you would think he'd have so much training as a quarterback, trying these sidearm passes. That's the problem with these kids. They see, a couple of these quarterbacks that have the different arm slots, and they can throw.
Yeah, they all want to be on Mahomes.
Yeah, they want to be Patrick Mahomes. So, I probably would have tried it too, but I could hear my high school coach I went to with a game, him yelling at me, Leo, not the way you throw a ball. You set, use your back foot, you plant, you throw the ball the same way, just like you throw baseball, same way. Now, if someone's coming at you and they got their hands raised, okay, then I could see, if you're throwing a screen pass, throwing a sidearm pass, but not with a guy like on a crossing route that he tried to throw that would have kept that drive alive. So, some surprising, results. And then LSU absolutely dominated the second half. Looked like the better coach team, the faster team, more determined team. Give them credit. The only one doesn't want to give him credit that I saw was Dabo Sweeney, but Dabo's Dabo.
Yeah, that's Dabo. All right, I want to ask you about a couple games this week. Nothing like earth-shattering on the radar, but SMU is -2.5 against Baylor. Your thoughts on that game?
So everyone loved Baylor. I wasn't one of them, but it's one of the few games I hit right on. So Baylor lost 38-24 against Auburn. First drive down the field, they drove right down the field. I'm like, wow, they're better than I expected. Then Auburn started coming back, and Jackson Arnold, the quarterback, started running and throwing, and they got desperate. They went for 6 times on 4th down. So Dave Aranda even admitted he made a mistake there. But I think SMU is going to be in a rebuilding mode. Now, they dispatched of East Texas State 42-13. They had 2 defensive touchdowns, so that kind of made the result a little misleading. I just think them losing – a couple key players from Miami on the defensive line, their entire starting defensive line, all their receivers, their running back Smith, Brashard Smith from Miami, I think they're going to go through a transition period. I think there's a good spot to catch them here. If Baylor beats Auburn, Baylor's the favorite here by 2, maybe 3 points. SMU's favored by 2.5. I think Baylor's going to win this game by 7 to 10 points.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Illinois is -3 against Manny Diaz's Duke team. What are your thoughts on that one?
Public loves former Tulane quarterback Darren Mensah. 27 for 34 in their game last week for 389 yards in that 45-17 win against Elon. But that's Elon here. Duke's a solid team in the ACC. They just don't have many great guys at the other skill positions. Illinois, one of the most underrated teams, I think, in the country in a power conference. They closed the season with 4 straight wins, including a bowl win over South Carolina, which was impressive. They returned 19 out of 22 starters. Really good special teams also. You got to grade special teams. A bunch of teams that special teams cost them the game here. Last week versus Western Illinois, they ran it well, 5.7 yards per carry. They stopped the run, allowing just 1 yard per carry. And Duke's one-dimensional here, mainly a passing team. And I think Illinois is going to control both lines of scrimmage. Illinois, 27-17.
Interesting. And then the last one I wanted to ask you about, a little sexier game, Oklahoma, -5 against Michigan.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. You got Michigan true freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood, who, in my opinion, is as good as advertised. Now, I've got to go on the road now, play a good Oklahoma team. But he's got Justice Haynes, transfer from Alabama, had 159 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Big loss, obviously, for Alabama. I thought he was their best back. They did not run Underwood in that game, and I believe he is certainly capable of running quite a bit here. So I think they saved most of the playbook in that blowout win against New Mexico. OU won 35-3 against Illinois State, but only 103 rushing yards on 32 carries is concerning. I love their transfer quarterback, John Mateer. He can run and throw and do it all. Emotional leader. I saw him in a game last year, beat University of Washington basically single-handedly. But I think Michigan's going to control the offensive and defensive lines. I think it's just better than Oklahoma's here. Close, hard-fought game here. I think you take the points here. I'm not sure who's going to win. It'll probably be a 3-point game either way, but 5 points, you take the team that controls the line of scrimmage, maybe has a little better pedigree. Michigan +5.
All right, and everyone, of course, is fired up for the start of NFL season this weekend. It's a huge time for ParamountSports.com. Give us a little bit of update on what you got to offer people at Paramount Sports who want to bet this weekend.
Yep, so we rate our games from 10 to 50 units. Last week, we did not have a game above 25 units. We will have our first 40 to 50 unit max wager of the year. Love one game, and we're career 71-28 on these 40 to 50 unit max wagers. So you want to get on this game, and the rest what I have, you can try our September to Remember, and it's just $3.97 for 4 weeks through the end of September. Works out to less than $100 a week. So try us there. Use that coupon code SAVE100, or the rest of the season through the Super Bowl. Lower that also to $18.97 for 24 weeks. So ParamountSports.com. or call 800-400-9741. Also, I'll give them a free game. How about this? There's a couple other good games. I like the Ole Miss game against Kentucky. They call me 800-400-9741. Give them that game for free too. So check us out on the website. Also do UFC. Big card going Saturday morning. I think it's actually early Saturday afternoon from Paris. So you want to get on that. We've won 10 of the last 13 cards in the UFC, ParamountSports.com.
All righty, Lee. Well, short and sweet this week. It'll crank back up for the Hurricanes soon enough. But congratulations on hitting the game big last weekend. And we'll talk to you again next week. So for Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Furman. Thanks for joining us once again on You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling. We'll see you next time, everybody.